Hi, this is Marcello from TEMPT, and you're listening to HAIRBANDHEAVEN.ROCKS.
All right, well, I guess let's get started. Let's knock this bad boy out.
Cool.
So, I'll do the same thing, because there's people out there that probably don't know who you guys are. So, how did you guys meet?
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting actually because Zach had been working when he was in high school, when he was pretty young, with this songwriter Jack Ponte, who Bon Jovi actually just recently gave a pretty lengthy shout out to when he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame during his speech. And Jack Ponte grew up kind of in the New Jersey scene, tri-state area music scene, was best friends with Bon Jovi early 70s or late 70s, early 80s. And he did a lot of songwriting on a lot of the early Bon Jovi stuff and worked with other bands. I know he did a lot of work with Bonfire, which was a pretty big band in Europe. Um, and so he was helping Zach write music and record music. He has his own home studio and stuff. But basically what happened was it got to a point where Jack kind of thought that, you need a young person to write with you and that you could bounce ideas off of. You kind of need like your Richie Sambora or Joe Perry or what have you, that kind of like singer, that classic, even like David Lee Roth Van Halen, that kind of like singer, guitar player, songwriter, super group that's already kind of in a band. So Zach actually found me on YouTube, interestingly enough, because I was doing a bunch of guitar covers back then when I was also in high school, because that was the height of the YouTube guitar era in my book. Just everyone seemed to be like doing covers of 80s rock songs and tutorials of, Van Halen and Scorpions and Def Leppard and whatnot. So he found me on YouTube just by chance, and we were both living in the city at the time, in New York City, so it was kind of weird. We kind of ran around in different friend groups, too, that were similar, so we hadn't ever actually met each other in person, but he managed to find me on the internet, and we just hit it off immediately. We met up at a rehearsal studio one day and just did some songwriting, and actually, I think like two of the songs off the recent record Runaway, I think it was Paralyzed and Coming On To You, were basically written in our first meeting together. At least the kind of like meat and potatoes of those songs are written. So we hit it off immediately. We started to try to play out as soon as possible. Obviously, we got that record recorded like within a year from then. And we went through some different bass players and drummers, trying to find the right people. It's so hard these days to find people who are gonna, one, like be good at playing an instrument, and two, be committed enough to stick with a band and put in the hours it takes to get your band to any type of level. So we went through some different bass players and drummers, but our current lineup, which is like, I feel like the real band has kind of just started in the last year and a half, 2 years since we released that record in 2016 and did the music video, is with Nick Burrows on drums and Chris Gooden on bass. And Nick I actually knew in high school, and he just happened to move back to the city, to New York, because he's from Toronto, or Windsor technically. But he moved back to the city, and I hit him up and I said, "Hey, dude, do you want to play drums in a band?" He was like, "Sure," and he knew Chris, so that's how this band got together, and it's been pretty amazing because we're all songwriters, we're all producers, so we've been having a great time, and we've been working on a bunch of new music. We have like 30 new songs written, so we're going to try to get a new album out soon as well. So that's basically the story of how everything kind of came together.
It's an interesting way to meet everybody, though. It's different.
Yeah, it was weird too, because when I was in high school, I knew Nick and Nick knew Zach, but I never had met Zach. So there was all this kind of like weird degrees of separation happening where we're all basically just like, barely missing each other from meeting in person. But luckily we eventually found each other. I guess it was meant to be.
I think it was. So, how have you guys been together with the current lineup?
The current lineup's gonna be coming up this summer. Will be 2 years with the current lineup, really, as it is, and it's been great. And even though I've been with Zach for over 4 years now, we were in college for most of kind of the early half of the band since those 2 years, really, the year and a half, 2 years that this new lineup or the final lineup, as I like to say, has been in effect. So we didn't really have a chance to play out as much and commit as much of our time to the actual project because, we were in school. He was in Miami, going to school at the University of Miami. I was in Boston at Boston Conservatory. So we really just couldn't do the band thing. We had the songs written. We could do the studio stuff. We could do, YouTube stuff, but we couldn't play out as much as we'd like to. So being back now doing this basically full time has been awesome, and having those two guys on, I feel really lucky because everyone's just insanely talented, and I feel like we're only getting better. The other day in rehearsal, I was like, wow, we're starting to sound pretty good even for my standards. So we're very excited about the future. I think this is going to be our year.
I think it could be too. So, what are some of your favorite venues you've played, so far?
Yeah, so we've been playing at this place, Arlene's Grocery in the city. It's kind of a legendary spot because it's down on the Lower East Side. It's by, the Bitter End, which of course everyone knows is a super legendary venue. And it's an awesome place because it's got a club vibe to it, and it's a club venue, but it's just big enough, and the stage is just big enough where you can really put on a crazy show and kind of move around, and the sound system is great there. And we've been playing there a lot, and we just have some pretty rockin' like party atmosphere shows there that are really fun. And also we've been lucky to play at BB King's, which is closing now, unfortunately. I don't know when the last show is, but I think probably by the end of the summer at least, if not sooner, it's going to be closed. And we actually opened for Tom Kiefer there, which was amazing. And that venue is just legendary. And then we also got to play at the Hard Rock in New York, which was super fun too, because that's a really big stage, and it was for a Battle of the Bands, so it was packed, and it was just kind of a cool rock star experience to have, to actually be able to play on a stage like that and have the whole backstage thing and everything. It was really fun.
Very, very cool. Well, that leads right into the next question. Then, so have you gotten to open for anybody and play for anybody cool, like some of your idols and, some of your bigger bands growing up?
Yeah, so so Tom Kiefer, as I said, and he was such a great guy to play with. He was super nice to us. He talked to us backstage during the show, and that was amazing because he's actually probably one of the best bands I've seen live, especially in that type of venue. He's such a good performer, and I've never seen him live. Like, I've watched, old tapes of Cinderella and stuff and some YouTube videos of his live stuff, but I've never seen him live. So seeing him play the way he plays guitar, which is, he's an insane guitar player. He's not really a flashy guy, so a lot of people sleep on him, but when he wants to like rip some solos and stuff, he's nuts. And also his voice sounds insane too. And I know he just had surgery on it like a few years ago, and he's already back to like top form. And yeah, we've also played with Last in Line, which obviously Vivian Campbell plays with them, and a lot of the original Dio guys, which is awesome. We're actually playing with them on May 4th too, in New Jersey at Debonair Music Hall, formerly Mexicali Live, which will be really fun. So I'm super psyched for that. And we've also had the pleasure of playing with like Jakey Lee. We played with Jakey Lee once, Jakey Lee's band. So yeah, so it's kind of surreal playing an opening for a lot of these bands that all these bands that I grew up listening to. But it's super fun and encouraging, and it's great to see how a lot of these artists are still just developing themselves, and because they just love what they do. It's really fun to watch.
Absolutely. So, what's like your dream venue to play?
I have to go with the cliche, kind of like stadium, MSG or Giant Stadium answer, just because I'm from New York.
Sure.
But I think, every band aspires at some level, even the most shoegazy indie band aspires to be able to, sell out arenas and have as many people come and enjoy their music as possible. But for me, as long as we're just able to play and have our fans come and see us and just have access to those people that we know want to see our music, and we can make a living doing it, I will be totally fine with that, because there's really, I mean, this is another kind of cliche, but there's really nothing like playing live and seeing, the hours you spend on your songs and rehearsals translating to other people and having those people get what you're doing and have it impact them. There's really nothing like seeing that and feeling that. So as long as we can play, that'd be great. If the arenas come, the better.
Fantastic. So, I'm seeing a very bright future for you guys. What are some of your career highlights so far, though? I mean, like, what's your, like, to you, your pinnacle moment so far?
I think the pinnacle. I think honestly, doing the music video was probably doing it and then releasing was probably the pinnacle because that was our first, at least my first experience. I'm pretty sure it was all of our first experiences doing a legitimate music video like that and spending, we shot that all in one day, which is crazy. And now that I think about it, we went from something like 2 in the afternoon to 1 in the morning. It was almost a full 12-hour day or something like that. And just to do that, to produce it, to put all that time into it, to do shots that were cut from the video and whatnot.
That was the video for Under My Skin, correct?
Yeah, sorry, I should say that. That is the video for Under My Skin, which came out a couple of months ago, I think. Maybe in January it came out, February. Definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. But yeah, so that video and then releasing that video, because it took us a while to, figure out the right time to release it and whatnot. And then releasing it and seeing the reaction and seeing how everyone kind of got what we were going for, that kind of fun vibe, showing off our hometown, New York, and then people loving the song too. I think that was probably one of the biggest payoffs you've ever had, just because you can see that so visibly. With an album, there aren't really like comment sections for albums. I mean, I guess they're technically reviews and stuff, but you just go on YouTube and you can see what people are writing and you can see how people are enjoying what you put out there. In just like a really natural way like that. It means a lot to us, and I think that's kind of like the main highlight so far.
Excellent, excellent. So the songwriting process that you guys use is mainly a collaborative process between you and Zach, or is it you, Zach, and the whole band together?
Yeah, so for the Runaway record, because most of that record was done before Nick and Chris joined the band, it was basically just Zach and I, with a few exceptions here and there, but it was basically just Zach and I. Now that we're, been a band, like, and I feel like we're finally like a real band where every member is of a vital pillar to the structure, and without them, it wouldn't be the same anymore. The writing process is really amazing because it's very relaxed. We're all about just writing the best songs possible and finding our, unique sound and bringing new stuff to the forefront. And, Nick is also a great producer. Nick and I do a lot of the production on these records. And Zach and Chris also are great writers as well as Nick. So, we're all about just what is best for the stuff. There's really no egos in terms of our songwriting. I could come up with a riff and a chorus melody, and Nick could be like, you know what, I like that riff, but maybe we should add this to it, and then Zach could be like, okay, now that's good, so I'm gonna rewrite the chorus melody, and we might be like, yo, that's way better, so let's use that, or we might say, Zach, that sucks, we're not using that. So, and no one, and everyone gets this, everyone gets this, and everyone just wants what's best for the song. So it's, again, I've harped on this a bit, but I'm feel really lucky that I found all these guys. We found each other because it's really the perfect kind of creative environment. So, like I said, we have, something like 30 new songs written. Obviously, we're not going to release a 30-song record, so some of those will be cut. Wait for the box set in 50 years with the bonus tracks. But so we will definitely. I'm really excited for people to hear this stuff because it's taking on a life of its own, and I think it sounds really cool, a lot of the new stuff. So I'm very excited about it.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing that. Who are some of your influences musically, like growing up?
So I kind of stumbled into like the whole arena rock aesthetic, I don't know. Everyone uses their own different word for it. It's like AOR, hair bands, melodic rock, whatever. But that whole type of, Foreigner, Def Leppard kind of sound. I first stumbled onto
Great
that
band.
with Def Leppard. I found their album weirdly on my iPod back when I was 13. I just found the Hysteria record. So I've basically been listening to that ever since. Probably at least like once a day. I'll give some tracks on there and listen. And um, all those bands, Van Halen, obviously, because once I started getting more into guitar playing, thanks to Randy Rhoads, who is one of my biggest idols and got me seriously involved in wanting to pursue music and guitar as a career. Once I started getting more serious about guitar playing, obviously that era of music, the late 70s, 80s is kind of like the guitar heaven for guitar players in terms of like the tones, the techniques, the songwritings, how the riffs are structured. So that whole era was just such a big influence. Everyone from, the bigger bands, like I mentioned, Def Leppard, Van Halen, Foreigner, to, some of the more like sleazy hair metal bands like Dokken, who I love. George Lynch obviously is amazing. Warren DeMartini and Rat. And then now, as I've gotten older, and just looking for new stuff, thinking more about songwriting and production, I've been listening to a lot of new music as well. I think we're actually entering a very interesting period of music. We're getting some cool stuff. I think like the new Killers record is amazing. If people haven't checked out, the song "The Man" is actually a pretty like rock song for today's standards. Obviously, it's not rock for what we're used to, but it's a really good song, and the production is great, and a lot of the new Taylor Swift stuff I really like. So I'm trying to get as many influences as possible right now, just to bring the songwriting and production to the next level for all the new stuff we do.
Fantastic. So, yeah, you mentioned Def Leppard. I mean, how can you not be a fan of Def Leppard? And your cover of Women, it's amazing. So, what are your thoughts though when Def Leppard gave you guys a shout out for the awesome cover of Women?
Yeah, so that was pretty insane because we were not expecting that at all. We had been tweeting them and messaging them and stuff, tagging them or whatnot, and Facebook posts, Instagram posts, Twitter posts, saying check out our video, check out our video, and we had kind of had radio silence from them. And it was 2 weeks or so after we actually put the video on YouTube and our Facebook, and we were at rehearsal, taking a break, tuning up, something like that. And Zach was on his Instagram, and he was like, I think Def Leppard just posted our video on their Instagram. And from that point on, it was just insane because we had a mass migration of their followers over to our page, which introduced a whole bunch of new people to our music. And we actually played a show at Arlene's Grocery, where I mentioned before, a few weeks after that video was released. And we had people who saw the video who had never heard of us before actually show up to that show. So
Nice.
yeah, so that was really amazing. It still kind of hasn't sunk in that they actually watched the video, liked it enough to have tell their entire social media team to blast it out on all their social media. And I think it reflects really well on them. We hear a lot of people. I know people like Gene Simmons and stuff, and other people have kind of been lamenting the death of rock music and saying, guitar music's dead, rock music's dead. And I think it says a lot that Def Leppard is kind of totally for free. Like, they didn't have to do this. They weren't told by anyone to do this, decided to show a younger band props and to try to, pass the torch forward and say, tell their fans, like, here's a new rock band, check them out. Here's a cover of the song they did, introduce them that way. And it's really just amazing that they did that, and we were overjoyed and still are overjoyed about it.
Absolutely. So now is Women going to be a staple in the set list going forward?
We have played it. We've only played it live once because we've only had one show since
Sure,
then.
sure.
We're definitely going to be playing it a lot more because I think it honestly sounds better live than it does on the video, just because like when you get the energy of that and it's like blasted, in a club or in a theater, it's insane. And when we played it at Arlene's Grocery after that interview, some of the fans who we got from that video who were there were like, oh, we got goosebumps from that. So I was actually very surprised by that. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And it's because it's one of my favorite songs by them, and I think it's a really underrated song by them in terms of what people consider to be the best Def Leppard songs. When we play it live, I go crazy. I love playing it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And your band's sound, it definitely has the 70s and 80s rock vibe. Was that an organic thing? Like, got together and this is just what happened? Or was that the plan all along to sound that way due to the love of the music?
Yeah, I think both of those aren't mutually exclusive necessarily. I think that, we didn't like plan what the sound was going to be, but because Zach and I and everyone in the band loves that type of music, it just naturally came. And especially when you're doing your first record, I mean, if you go listen to any band's first record, that's the one that's kind of most true to their influences and most true to kind of like where they're coming from, because that's all you have when you start off songwriting. I mean when we wrote that record, I'd written, a few one-off songs here, instrumental stuff for guitar, but I'd never undertaken the task of writing 10 to 14 songs that have completed melodies, completed, arrangements, completed lyrics. So that's definitely, I think definitely, the first record you do is going to be the most true to your roots in that sense, in terms of like, okay, we know where this is coming from. No matter kind of what spin you put on, I think we put a really unique spin on that sound, gave it kind of a punkier, more modern edge to that type of music. And I think it turned out great. And I'm glad to see a lot of people get it and they see kind of the direction of where this music or this style of, melodic arena rock could actually have a seat at the table in the modern pop, modern hip hop, modern R&B realm, where that could be something that contends with those genres, which are so big right now. And obviously, moving forward from here in terms of the new songs, that's our DNA. So everything we're gonna do is gonna have that type of aesthetic. I mean, that's the music that I want to hear. We write music that we want to hear. Going forward, it's just a matter of, that our taste as songwriters improving and us trying to make the songs even better and do better production and just get everything to the next level. So that's why I keep harping on it, but I'm super excited that we're going to start releasing this music in the summer. I'm not sure when a full album will come out. Maybe that will be fall and some singles over the summer, but uh, yeah, I'm really excited about where everything is, and I still think that album sounds great. I still listen to it all the time, and I love it. So I'm just glad to hear that everyone's really really digging it, and they get it, and they're along with us for the ride.
Awesome, awesome. And speaking of the album Runaway, that's got some really, really great tracks on there. Like What Is Love? That's a great song. Fight's a great song. Sapphire's a great song. Uh, I'm going to ask you to pick your favorite track from that album, though.
I think for me it's a tie between I'll just say Under My Skin. I was gonna say Under My Skin and Amina, but playing live, we always close our set with Under My Skin because it's just such a kind of like party fun song and it has so much energy behind it. And I personally just really enjoy listening to that song and playing it. So we close that like every set we play and people always go crazy for it. So I gotta go with that one just because it's also the only time I get to play drop D during our set usually, so that's also fun.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. That's awesome. So have you guys been able to tour the States or beyond yet, or no?
We did one mini tour back in 2014, very early on when we went to Rocklahoma, and that wasn't with Chris or Nick. But that was fun because we got a little taste of doing a tour, going and playing a festival, which was great, and playing with other bands, meeting other bands, networking, that type of thing.
Sure.
Um, But we just actually got signed with TKO Management. So that's like a booking, not management, booking. So that's like a booking agency. So we are going to be booked on a bunch of shows coming up, and definitely will be touring. I can't say any specific dates because just nothing's set in stone now, but we are with a booking agency and we're going to be going out on tour. Whether that's, more of a local tour, kind of tri-state down to, Pennsylvania, Midwest area, or all the way out to California is yet to be determined. But starting this summer, and hopefully for as long as possible, we will be trying to tour as much as possible and get out and see as many of our fans as possible. Because the crazy thing about the internet is that, you just have all these fans all over the world that want you to come play for them. So
Yeah.
so we gotta start getting a move on that for sure, and we are soon. So I'm very excited about that.
All right. But yeah, the plans for touring, obviously, you're definitely going out on the road this year. You just don't have set dates yet. So
Exactly. So we will keep everyone. We'll keep everyone, and I'll keep you posted so we can get the word out.
and I will also keep everyone posted. That is fantastic. And can we expect some new music this year? You mentioned some singles. I read somewhere that you were talking possibly about putting out maybe an EP
Yeah.
or
Yeah. So we definitely have we have like 2 albums worth of music. It's not all done, but we're getting it done. And so we're kind of in a holding pattern in terms of, we want to definitely release it in the summer because, I think summertime releases are awesome, and a lot of the music we have written, I think will be a good soundtrack for a lot of people's summers.
sure.
But, yeah, so we're kind of experimenting and playing around with how we want to release it. Now with the internet and a lot of new innovations, even the last couple of years with streaming services and the way you can release albums and delayed releases and all this sorts of thing. We want to try to make we want to do something cool with how we release the music. So that could be something like, releasing a bunch of singles over the summer, maybe a couple a month even, to the point where a whole album is kind of released, and then compiling that album, into the actual physical, and then selling that towards the end of the summer or the fall, or releasing an EP and then maybe releasing 2 EPs, like a double EP, and then compiling that into an album, or maybe doing only electronic releases first. And then when people want the physical, we'll put the physical out with extra tracks on it, maybe like an electronic EP and then actual physical, full length or something like that. So I could definitely say that there will be lots of new music coming in the next, 3 to 6 months. How it's going to get into people's hands is kind of the question, but we will probably definitely release a physical towards the end of the year because a lot of our fans love physical. I love physical. I don't think physical is dead. As long as, you have the fans that want to support that. So either way, everyone's kind of going to be able to enjoy the music how they want to enjoy it. And that's what we want. So definitely new music coming out, lots of new music, just kind of to be determined about how we're going to get it out and when.
Well, we look forward to hearing it too. So, your singer, Zach Allen, has just an amazing voice, and your combined harmonies are great. And I did some research, and during my research, I saw some videos on YouTube of you guys playing a couple Def Leppard songs, one on the beach, with you and an acoustic guitar and Zach, and then you and Zach in the studio with an acoustic guitar playing Hysteria. So whose idea was that to pick 2, basically iconic Def Leppard songs and throw them out there?
Yeah, that was kind of both of our ideas because we were really on a serious Def Leppard kick then, and we were kind of new to doing YouTube stuff, and we didn't really have the full band at that point, like the final lineup. So, just experimenting. We kind of had been playing those songs acoustically just with each other, not even thinking about doing a video, and then we decided, hey, why don't we, put this on YouTube and see what happens. And what's funny is that since Def Leppard retweeted the recent Woman cover, which is a full band cover, a lot of their fans have kind of gone back through our YouTube and found those old ones. So they've kind of resurged into prominence again because people are finding those videos. The Def Leppard fans that came over to us from them have been finding those older covers. So I actually kind of had forgotten about them. And then, all of a sudden I see in my YouTube inbox and on Facebook, people commenting on those videos. So it was cool to go back and see that and kind of watch those again. And I'm glad that people have been enjoying them again. It's really great. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing people enjoy, especially those types of covers, because you want to do it right and you want to add your own spin to it. You don't want to copy the song and you don't want to ruin the song. So it's glad to see people and true fans are really enjoying it. That's the ultimate test for me.
Absolutely. who are some of your favorite new bands? I know you touched on the Killers. Is there anybody else, like even local bands from the New York area that you're really into right now?
Local bands right now, it's kind of hard to say. You know, the weird thing about New York is that there are so many bands here, and there's also like I don't know. It's a hard thing to say. We haven't played with a lot of new bands lately. A lot of the shows we've been doing have been kind of our own shows or with bigger bands. But yeah, I mean the Killers have been great. There's this new guy, Charlie Puth, who is like his own solo artist, and he's actually really big. I mean, his videos on YouTube get, 20 million views in like the first week he posts them and whatnot. But what's cool about him is that, he's not a rock guy. It's super pop, kind of like R&B-ish, but he has a kind of a retro influence. Like a lot of his stuff almost sounds like George Michael-ish. But he does all the production and songwriting himself. Like he's a total one man band in that regard. So that's kind of cool to see in this era of 20 writers on one song and 20 producers on one song. A vocal producer and this producer and that, to actually have someone who's talented and really like writing his own stuff and producing his own stuff that sounds great and is getting top play on like stations like Z100 and top 40 radio. I think is really inspiring, and I think it's cool that he's become super popular. I encourage people to check it out. They may dig it because like he's super catchy. They might not, but he's a really cool character, and I think a lot of people have been complaining about this kind of like corporate talentless pop music that's come out, and he's kind of an example of someone who's broken through. So he gives me a lot of inspiration.
What was the deciding factor for you when you knew, like, I think I just want to play music. This is what I want to do. What was the aha moment for you?
I think definitely I kind of touched on this a little bit before, but definitely the listening to the Randy Rhoads Ozzy tribute album, that live album,
Oh,
which is
it's a great album.
yeah, that's a legendary album, and that's what really I've been kind of dabbling in guitar a little bit, but it's hard to tell a 12 or 13-year-old to like play guitar, which is such a hard instrument to start playing. So it's kind of hard to get excited about that. And that album really, got me into watching videos about guitar and trying to figure out what exactly was he doing on that live record. Why does that sound so cool to me? Why is it so awesome? I want to be able to do that. And so that nudge kind of like started the domino effect of wanting to pursue music seriously. So it's really all thanks to Randy Rhoads that I'm doing what I'm doing today. Yeah, I mean that it's an amazing record and definitely and obviously from there I got into then that's kind of like the domino effect, finding about Van Halen and then finding about other bands and guitar players. So it really all started there.
Awesome, awesome. And having your album Runaway released on Rock Candy Records is pretty awesome. Will they be releasing future material for you guys? Because I know they're not really known for releasing new music. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, yeah, like you said, they're not really they're really mainly at like reissue records. So it was kind of amazing that they were very interested in us, and it was really encouraging that they really got our vision for the kind of this new wave of rock, as I've been kind of calling it. And they wanted to put the album out, and so that was really only a distribution deal in Europe, and it was a one-off deal. Like there were no contracts or anything, so I'm not sure if we will be working with them again. We're still in contact with like Derek Oliver, and all those types of people who run Rock Candy, and we're super friends with them. We have a great relationship with them. We constantly talk to them, and they're big supporters of the band. They've helped us immensely, just with even just promoting us for free and all sorts of things. So they've been an amazing label to have worked with. I would love to work with them again in the future. I mean, if there's definitely when the record comes out, if we need like European distribution again, I'd love to work with them in the future. But there's nothing kind of locked in stone on that. But yeah, I mean, we've had a great relationship with them, so we'll definitely probably try to do something with them again.
Awesome, awesome. So, obviously the music industry it's a struggle. So, are you guys all able to make ends meet playing music now, or are you still working like the typical 9 to 5 jobs, or how's that all working out for you guys?
Yeah, so I kind of like consider, the band to be almost like a tech startup in a way where you don't, your $1 million doesn't come in the beginning, right? You got to throw a bunch of money and invest into the company before you see those returns. It could be a year, 5 years, 10 years down the line. So we're still doing our own thing to get by and feed the beast that is the band Thames. I do a lot of side music production and songwriting with other artists, as well as some TV work and that type of thing. Nick also is a big he makes lots of beats for rappers and works some at different studios. And Zach actually works at an orthodontist's office. And Chris does a whole bunch of stuff. He works with studios and other artists as well. So we're able to kind of keep a lot of the other, money making aspects in music, which is nice. And then hopefully we'll be able to turn Tempt very soon into a money making venture, so we can put even more money into it and keep reinvesting, so we can go out and play all sorts of shows for everyone and make even better music.
I love it. Well, hey, Harrison, I won't take too much more of your time, but I got one final question. And we touched on them already, but I like to ask it. It's kind of a corny question. But when it comes to Van Halen, everybody's got the age-old argument, who's better, Dave or Sammy? So, who's better? Who do you like, Dave or Sammy?
Yeah, this is always such a hard question for me because I love both of them, and obviously the music is so different from the the mid to late '80s band Hagar and the earlier Van Halen stuff. I have to always say David Lee Roth though, and that's not even for a taste reason. It's just kind of like my own logical reasoning behind giving Dave his props, and that's I think there wouldn't be a Van Halen, and Van Halen wouldn't surge to as much prominence in the way it did without him. He's such an amazing front man, and he's just a funny guy and so unique and so recognizable, even to a lot of non-music people. They know who David Lee Roth is just because he became such a cultural icon. So I have to just give it to him out of respect for, the one of the original members. But that's not to say, a lot of people have a lot against, Van Hagar, and oh, it's cheesy and it's this and that. I love so much of their music. I love all the keyboard stuff that Eddie did. I think it's so cool that he got really into that type of production. And I mean, it's an evolution of a band, and you have to respect that. I mean, a lot of bands get into the hole of trying to put the same record out, 4 or 5 times, and they went through their phase with David Lee Roth, and they moved on. And I think honestly, some of the songwriting is a lot better in the Van Hagar years, just because they're more mature as, artists and performers and whatnot. So I give both the same amount of credit, just through my, out of respect and my logical reasoning. I have to go David Lee Roth on
Well, I really can't argue with that logic. Not even a little bit.
that.
But that's pretty much all I got. I mean, we went through the whole gamut, I guess. And is there anybody else you want to give a shout out to? Anything you want to say to the fans that are listening?
Yeah, I would just say, one thing we really found out from doing this Def Leppard, or having Def Leppard, retweet this and retweet our video and doing all these covers is that, and I didn't really realize this before because it's not that apparent, but the likes and the shares and the comments really help us a lot. So if people listening to this, haven't heard of us yet, or have heard of us but haven't gone and liked the Facebook page, definitely go over and look at all the social media stuff. That's really where all music is happening now, for better or worse. Facebook.com/TemptBand, Instagram TemptBand, and Twitter TemptBand. And, if you like what you see on the page, give us a like the videos that come through if you enjoy them, and, comment and message us. We respond to all of our comments and all of our messages to our page. So, and we really like seeing the feedback from fans about what they like and even what they don't like. So, all that stuff is gonna be really important going forward, especially in this kind of, early stage of the band kind of, gaining some momentum. So that's kind of my final message, is just a call to arms to the social media. And if you're in the tri-state area, We got Last in Line at Debonair Music Hall in Teaneck, New Jersey on May 4th. And May 10th, we're playing in Arlene's Grocery with Dan Reed Network, which is also an awesome band. So come out to those shows if you're around.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm not going to be in the tri-state area, so I won't be attending, but I would love to be there.
You'll be there in spirit.
I'll be there in spirit. One of these days soon.
Exactly. We'll try to get out to Ohio on these tours and come see it.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. I'll make a trip to see you guys if you make it to Ohio.
Awesome.